I think so. Hi, we're out here today at the Dusty Acre Ranch. We've been out here all week long building this fence here behind us. We're partially done, but we've had a good time. A lot of work, a lot of exercise, so we've enjoyed ourselves. So we've already taken our 12-inch Dutch oven and we've spritzed it and cleaned it up with a little bit of vinegar, and so we're ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and get our charcoal lighted. Boy, my English can use something to be desired. So we'll coat that with a little bit of lighter fluid and get those going. And I'm probably going to light more than I normally would use, but better to have too many than not enough. Today we're going to make a triple chocolate cake, and I love this recipe because I've done it probably 600 or 700 times over my lifetime, and I like teaching it as the method. And then we'll talk about some variations of things that you can do. I did this one time where I taught a kids 4-H club, and one of the dads that was there is a firefighter. Well, he decided to take this recipe and he took it the next day and went to the fire station and changed it up and did his own version, and it was a massive hit. And that's what I love to see, is people take the method and go and expand and enjoy and make it their own. So we're gonna have some fun today. So we got our charcoal lit, not lighted, lit. And we got a little bit of a breeze out here today, so bear with us. We're going to take our oven and get it prepared. So first of all, I like this recipe because there's few ingredients. But the first thing you got to do, and this is key, is we're going to take a stick of butter. We're not going to use it all, but we're going to heavily wipe down our Dutch oven so that it gets a nice coating of butter in there. And by doing that, you'll see the reasoning why here a little bit later when we turn this cake out. But get it up on the sides, not all the way, but enough that it's got a good coating on there. We're using the back of our work truck here to kind of get things done. Let me give you the list of ingredients for this. It's a Devil's Food cake mix, 1 package of chocolate pudding. Doesn't matter whether it's the small box or the big box. Do whatever suits your fancy. 3 eggs, 1 3/4 cups of milk. We're using 2% today. You could use whole milk. You could get real creative and maybe use chocolate milk. And normally what I do is I teach it with doing 1 16-ounce bag of semi-sweet chocolate morsels. Now today, it turns out somebody, I'm not going to name names, got into the bag and had some of these for a snack or whatever the case is, so we didn't have a full bag. But we did have some white chocolate chips. So we kind of mixed them, the two, and so we'll have that little variation on the cake today. So we're going to begin. We've got our Devil's Food cake mix opened, and we don't want to immediately pour it in the bowl. We're going to come over here, and in our buttered dish, we're going to just put a nice little sampling down inside there. And then take that oven and dance it around and coat that all really good with that mix. Kind of like flouring your cake pan when you make one at home. And once you've got all the spots covered in there pretty well, then shake the excess back into your bowl. A lot of times you hear people where they'll take and put flour in. Well, then you got that white stuff on the side of your cake. And this is one of those cakes where once it's done and we turn it out of the oven, a lot of times we're ready to eat. We're not going to wait for another hour for it to cool and then take and put icing on it and get all fancy with it. We're just going to get right to it. So we've got that excess poured in there. We'll dump our Devil's Food cake mix, the whole packet in there without the garbage. Next, our chocolate pudding. Now, a lot of times people will take and add the chips right away to this. And I tell them it's probably better if you take and mix it all together with the milk and everything, then add the chips and stir them in. Makes it a little bit easier on the stir. Get a nice hard surface there. And normally the cake calls for 2 eggs, but I found that if I do 3 eggs, then it comes out a little more fluffy and just like that flavor that comes out, the texture. So there's our 3 eggs. So next will be our 1 3/4 cups of milk. And I've got a 1 cup measure here today. And I've done this enough times that I kind of could pour it in there and know the feel, but we're just going to eyeball and say, okay, that's about 3/4. So very simple, quick, and easy to put together. Now we'll take our spoon and just mix all that together. Get our milk out of the sun. We're down here in Arizona, and we're told that next week on Tuesday it's going to be a high of 98 degrees. Last week we were in the mid 60s. So not that we're looking forward to that, but this is the time of year that we appreciate being in Arizona, and we're shoveling sunshine instead of shoveling snow.
I think I would rather shovel sunshine than snow any day.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been doing a lot of concrete and rock this week, haven't we, Michael?
Yes.
So once you get that pretty well incorporated in your bowl, looking pretty good that it's coming together, got all the junk up off the bottom and mixed in. Now we're going to take and add our white chocolate and our semi-sweet chocolate chips. And it looks like we've been sitting out here a little bit in the sun, and so some of it is stuck in the bottom here. Some would say that should be a snack for the cook, but we're going to sacrifice it. Okay. Keep our trash from blowing away, and then just mix those in. Now, let's talk about some of the variations you could do here. You could put a few drops of raspberry extract in there and throw some raspberries in it. You could, sometimes I've taken and let the cake cook about halfway through. Then I'll pull the lid off and rather quickly scoop some cherry pie filling on the top, and then put the lid back on, and that cherry pie filling will bake down into the cake, and almost like a Black Forest cake. And at the end, if you want to let it cool, you got so many different options of icings and drizzles and toppings that you might want to put on it. Decorate it with some fruit, strawberries, raspberries, whatever comes to mind and suit your fancy. So okay, so that's coming together fairly well, and I think it's a little thick, so we're just going to add a little bit more milk to it. We were probably just a little shy on the 1 3/4 cups, so that should give it a little more liquidy, and get that incorporated. And we're going to bake this cake at 350 degrees. And if you normally would bake a cake, as by the directions, it says to cook it at 350 for 45 to 48 minutes. And being that we're starting with a cold pan instead of a preheated oven, we're going to take and add about 5 minutes to that. And we're going to actually cook it at 53 minutes. Now today we got a little bit of wind blowing. We got the truck kind of trying to block that. But it might give or take a minute or two of that 53 minutes, but most of the time 53 minutes is just perfect. So now that that's all mixed together, we're going to come over here to our pan. Our charcoal's looking pretty good, and so we're going to keep that lid or that handle away from the coals, and we'll just kind of pour that right down in the center and let it expand out by itself. My wife does not like chocolate, so this is one of those recipes that I get to eat by myself unless I got friends over. So
I'm a friend. I will help you eat.
it's almost sinful to let chocolate go to waste, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to set our pan back over here out of the way. And you can see it's not quite all the way around in there. So we're going to kind of tip it a little bit and let that spread out a little bit. Kind of coat the sides. And on goes our lid. Now, good old long tongs so we don't burn any more hair off of the knuckles that we don't have. And we're just going to take and load our top. Now I'm going to teach you a little bit about heat control while we're doing this. Now, I'm not counting these, and this is a 12-inch Dutch oven as marked on the top, and that's measured by the diameter across the lid. We're just going to load a few coals up there. That's probably one too many, but see how my spacing is? I'm pretty even here, not real tight. I think one more, so there we go. Now what we're shooting for is 15 on the top. Taking 12 plus 3 for the top, 12 minus 3 for the bottom to give us a 350-degree baking oven. So let's count those, Michael. We'll start with the one right here by the 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we're pretty close. I'm going to leave it at 16 because this is an old bag of Kingsford, and it seems to have kind of lost some of its juice. And with this wind blowing, it's going to make those coals burn a little bit faster than what we're used to. So on the bottom, we're going to take and make a ring of about 9. 12 minus 3 is 9 coals. And so on the bottom is what we want, 9 coals. We'll get the rest of these out of the way.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
I got a lot of heat over here, so I'm actually going to move my coals over here to make that ring. The reason for that is that radiant heat from that, even though the wind's going this direction, could alter the way our cake cooks. So let's see what we got. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. We were ready for 2 extra. I'm going to take that and just make sure it's not sitting on top of any charcoal that's resting on the table. And again, we don't want to put the handle over that way because those coals are going to heat that up to where you can't grab it. But if you turn it this way, you can push it all the way to below the rim, and that allows that to stay somewhat cool. You can still grab it and pull it up, but I always tell people, touch it first and test it before you just grab it and start to go somewhere, and then all of a sudden you're screaming for bloody murder and having to drop your food. So that's our triple chocolate cake. We'll come back here in a little bit once it's done. Remember, 53 minutes from now, you got plenty of time to click like and subscribe.
Go ahead.
Hello again. Hey, it's been about 53, maybe 54 minutes. Our wind has kind of died down a little bit. There for a bit, it was kind of rolling strong, but we're ready. I think our cake's done because I can smell it. And C-Dub always gets the question of, how can you tell if it's done? Well, if it smells done, it's done. If it smells burnt, it's burnt. And if it doesn't smell, it ain't done. So that's that. So I can get my gloves here out of the way under my armpit. And there we go, our triple chocolate cake. So I'm going to set the lid off to the side, actually, while the wind's blowing. I'm going to get rid of our charcoal. And what we're going to do is take our knife, and even though it's buttered really well, we're just going to go around the sides of that cake and just make sure that there's a separation there. And this is going to be the fun trick. And this is one of those cakes where you can't take and just put a toothpick or a knife blade down in there, and if it comes out, if it's wet, it's not done, because you got all those chocolate chips in there, and that chocolate comes out, and then you think cake's not done when really it is. So that cold air, as it starts rushing in, kind of helps that cake contract a little bit and pulls away from the sides, so that helps as well. Now, these are firefighter gloves, and even though we've touched some hot ovens, it's melted the gloves a little bit. Now, if you get a good heavy pair of welding gloves, and I know they come in various thicknesses, because you get some that are very light to where you can kind of feel what you're doing. Others are nice and stiff like these to where those are what I would recommend for what we're going to do here. So we're going to take our lid and we're going to put it back on top. We've removed all of our coals. I'm going to set that lid lifter aside, and I'm going to take and catch and lift our cake and flip it upside down real quick on our lid stand, and that cake should drop right out onto our lid. So let's see how we did today. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nice little bounce there. I'm going to take my gloves off because 3 magic taps, make sure that it dropped out. Now, is that necessary? Probably not, but it's fun to do. So, especially when you do this around a crowd of people, and there comes the reveal. And you see, even with the butter, our windy day today, some of the cake still stuck to the bottom, and that's the reason why we take and put so much butter in there. Now, our windy day today kind of ate away our bottom coals. Had we not had the wind, or maybe had a windscreen, or maybe replaced our coals halfway through on the bottom, it might have cooked all the way through to where that didn't stick. But we're still pleased with it, and we're going to show you what we're going to do next. And this is the fun of Dutch oven. And this always makes my wife extremely nervous. I don't know. There we go. You think I can do it, Michael?
Possibility.
Okay, we're going to try and flip this. 1, 2. Oh. Scared me. 1, 2, 3, go! And there you go. Triple chocolate cake. You don't even see what's on the bottom at this point. Your cake's upright. You can let it cool, frost it, decorate it, put a little powdered sugar on it, whatever you want to do. Put some raspberries on top. Or you can just go get the vanilla bean ice cream, start cutting into it, and have a good time. Thanks for joining us today. Make sure you like and subscribe. We enjoy coming to you, and hopefully you're learning from these.